So now we're entering part two of this on Roland Martin's channel, where he's decided we're not going anywhere. And he says it in one way, but there's a reality to, well, we're not really going anywhere on this other front either. He calls him a white nationalist, pretty much a racist and everything, tries to say he's a neo-Nazi and all these other things that we've shown so far. Whenever four people showed up at one of his rallies somehow they dictate who he was, and he tries to clear from this. We're right at the somewhat of a crucial point in going into part two. Let's continue.
Who's they? The white people ultimately don't need other races in order to succeed, in order to be ourselves. Absolutely not.
So, how do you think America became the greatest economic nation without...
Not through black people.
Oh, it wasn't?
Not through black people. He's going to try to claim that picking cotton badly is what made America, and that it didn't have anything to do with all the white people and the Industrial Revolution and all the things that they invented and did and twisted to, and the ideals they came up with that were made, that founded and continued on in that building that's just in between them there. He's going to try to claim well, man, America wouldn't have made it if it wasn't for slaves. And then he tries to say free labor.
It wasn't because of free labor?
No, they bought those people, and it was legal to buy them back then. And black people were mad when we stopped it, that were in Africa selling their own kind off. They continued it on. It still continues to this day. They want to ignore that fact. It keeps their victim idea intact if they just ignore that idea. But no, that's not reality in any way, shape, or form. And so free, how much you find out that they would come and then go across and everything and sell them for, and over $1,000 back in a time when you could buy a car for what? Well, you didn't have cars yet and everything, but commodity wise, that was extremely expensive. And to say that, well, man, I could pay people $5 a month back then, you know, hell, it was pennies that you lived on. My dad picked peaches for 4 cents an hour, when blacks got 6 cents an hour, because of some crap we came up with, because they were supposed to be the pickers and he was a helper, not the other way around. And black people were mad if they didn't get their opportunity to do the job to make the money. But a lot of things have changed since then. Just continue.
Are you talking about slavery?
No, I'm talking about slavery and also what happened after slavery. Douglas Blackman talked about slavery by another name. So I'm trying to understand, when you say didn't need it, how do you think America became the economy?
I could have gone off too and just let that roll, and then whenever he said it and then commented on that, we're just going to let that fly.
The greatest economy that it did. How do you think that happened?
Through the genius of Europeans.
How was the genius of Europe?
Yeah, the genius of Europeans and the genius of these Caucasian people. We do realize that they ended up becoming the spacemen right now. Given the chance, under no impression, the people in Africa weren't doing and still haven't done anything like it. And what's happening in Africa is because of being exposed and giving examples and billions of dollars and making it happen and trying to stop that whining. Let's continue.
Depends, when the fact of the matter is, it was actually King Cotton that supplied the economic means for America to do so. And that was a result of free labor from black people.
First of all, he said cotton ran everything, and cotton shirts were what made spaceships and trains, you see. And he also then tried to say that all that was free labor again, and it's not like we didn't have to feed them and do all the things and then buy them in the first place. It was a commodity, and it wasn't cheap in any way, shape, or form. What was a lot cheaper was chattel slavery, and you let them go at 7 years, which even blacks were up under. And previous free black man named Anthony Johnson went to court, demanded lifetime slavery for blacks, and that changed things for them because they were sold as a commodity and not as chattel slavery, and he won because he was right. And so he got to keep his own slaves. Yeah, there was freed blacks. The largest slave owner in South Carolina during a good period of time was a black man, but that's another story altogether.
Look, the whole point here is that who creates these systems? Who creates these business models and businesses?
Slavery was a business model?
Well, yes, it was a business model, yeah.
And was that one that you like or dislike?
I dislike.
You dislike?
Yeah, I absolutely reject it.
Okay,
yeah.
so
Yeah, it happened to the Irish and everything off of it. People were enslaving each other before they met the blacks. People were capturing other people and enslaving them through. There was a Barbary slave trade. There was an Islamic slave trade, and then came on to this last little bit that's the smallest amount of time, and they were the people that did the best for them and didn't castrate them and everything, and then turned around and set them free and have tried to prop them up, and somehow that's supposed to be white guilt compared to the other. Oh, we're not supposed to compare anything, so we're supposed to compare things to an ideal where black people had Wakanda. Look, Wakanda can happen back in Africa. This is America. Breathe in and out. Let's continue.
but you deny the reality, though, that's what allowed America to become the economic power, because America supplied 91% of the world's cotton, and so as a result of that, that's how
America didn't supply 90% of the world's cotton. At one time, we did 40%, and then that part of it was inclusive of our own selves. And that didn't make somehow somebody invent a train. And that didn't make somebody go, man, I've got a nice cotton shirt that's not by white people, so I'll make up this law that's to help the world. That's not how any of it worked whatsoever.
America was able to fund the Industrial Revolution. It was because of free labor from black people.
The Industrial Revolution originated in Britain, and it originated in the countryside of Britain.
No. I said the money.
No. Interrupt. No, in reality, the Industrial Revolution started over there and bred off into America. So they can't say, oh, well, it started in anything. So you're going to go, no. It funded America being able to do it too. And it's like, cotton wasn't all of that. We could have still kept on doing the Irish and have never done the other one. The other one is looked at as being a mistake from both parties, from black people to white people. It's trying to be expressed badly as, oh man, you and your mistake. So should have left them alone. So for them to go back or to have somebody have an ideal like that just makes common sense, and it should for blacks too. But they would rather be here, play this victim mentality, and continue this on, and try to live off white guilt. It's got to be a sad way to live. The only thing sadder was to be that you can't even live with that ideal, and you have to make up lies that say that I was an Egyptian or that maybe I was part of the Bible somehow.
Generated from that. But I asked you again, okay? You said we don't need anybody else.
No.
But the reality is, American history proves you wrong. The fact of the matter is, there is no great America. You can't sit here and talk about that greatness without other people making that happen.
We could have.
It's the greatest country in the world, and it wasn't because they had slavery. That's looked at as being a bad point. Duh. That's simple. Over and above the fact of having to domesticate people up into a modern world, we were able to become spacemen in a short period of time, after being left alone from the oppression of churches and things like that were going on, and the inquisitions and things that drove people to get on a boat in the first place. And those people that had boats and technology that far surpasses other people on the planet shouldn't be tried to turn around as a guilt. Somehow, some people think that you should actually somehow a little praise those people for having done so much and give them some respect. It'd be amazing if you did that. You might get more in return than this type of attitude where white men, you did nothing, we picked cotton and that made you happen. Lies.
Figured out another way to pick cotton. I mean, white people could have figured out another way to get cotton.
Work.
No, we tried that, did work. Right after we stopped that, Eli Whitney made the cotton gin, and that was pretty much obsolete, and black people didn't like that either because they no longer had that part of the job going on. But we're going to look back later at it and say, oh, bad white man, but then we're going to try to say that we did everything and it's a good thing, blacks, and then, oh, it's confusing as hell, isn't it? Not really.
Yeah, I mean,
we do it now. We've done it previously.
I don't know what books you read.
I don't know what books you read. Who picks cotton now? What makes it happen? Who are the farmers of the world? Who brought agriculture to the world? All the crops that are in Africa now come from Fertile Crescent Caucasians through Egypt and other places, and Egypt was one of the places that this happened off, but a little bit later than it happened in other places we're finding now. And as we look back, it's going to get farther and farther in time, and the difference of these two people and the amount of time span. If you said go like a race, which he's going to talk about in a minute, where he thinks race is a race, and black people are fast, and we're catching up, and it's like, we're catching you up. Why are you trying to be disgusting? We're helping. Oh my God.
No, that's actually not what happened. But you said y'all would have figured it out, but you didn't.
Look, African slavery was an absolute disaster, socially and morally. I reject it. Okay? In terms of the 20th century, when America rose as a geopolitical power, when we had the greatest economy in the world and so on, that has nothing to do with slavery.
So you say we don't need anybody else. Okay, but the fact of the matter is, people of color not going anywhere. So what is your vision for America? That is white land and the rest.
So now he pulled that old, well, we is here now, so we staying. And nobody could say or make a law that said we had to leave or go anything. And it's like, no, we can make up any law we decide. Don't try to tell us what we can do. Now all of a sudden you are part of we, and you're trying to tell a we what we could do. That's kind of odd.
Of us can leave.
I think that white people, Europeans, formed the core of American identity.
So why don't you go back to Europe? You keep saying European.
I just said.
You always try to throw that, well, why don't you go back to Europe? No, we founded and everything this did it here. Because this is causing you a problem and you've got this jealousy thing going on, why don't you go back, and now that you know what's going on, try to build Wakanda. I'm sure we'd throw billions of dollars at that to help it too, and you could try to do that, but you don't want to do that. You'd rather stay and effectively be some type of mooch that's just whining all the time about how you're not as equal to the spaceman on everything in the land that they created. Sound kind of odd to anybody?
Being a European isn't just a plot of land. Being a European is about blood and spirit. These people form the core of American identity. What it means to be American is ultimately what it means to be a white person here.
How so? Because
facts. And then, of course, he's got to go, well, how so? I'm going to interrupt you and not let you finish that sentence either. I'm not a very good interviewer.
How so? Because
are essential.
Because the reality is here. Dr. King talked about, and
I want to maintain that.
Oh my God, he's going to bring Dr. King up. Let's let that happen.
Essential.
Because the reality is here. Dr. King talked about, and
I want to maintain that.
Dr. King talked about it was black people who actually made America live up to the ideals that they wrote on a sheet of paper. That they were white Americans who talked about, we want the nation to be this. When the reality is, that's not what they were living up to. It was black folks who made that a reality.
No, it's black people who tries to use something that was written way back when by Caucasian men, whenever black people weren't even really considered human. They were so primitive. And when they said we the people, it meant them. It didn't mean everybody that might show up and ethnicities that all of a sudden claim to be American. And whenever it referred to all men are created equal, it was really discussing Caucasians and white Christians. In fact, later it clarifies that that's what's supposed to populate America. This is one reason blacks adopted Christianity.
When it came to the Constitution, when you say all men are created equal, we had a nation where it wasn't all men are created equal.
I myself am critical of the fact.
He had a dream, and you wouldn't believe some dreams I could describe to you, but he dreams that all men are created equal. Well, America has facaded it up to be so, and are treated the same way. In fact, they're given affirmative action and all kinds of things that are actually racist, because if anything like that was done for whites, it would be like, look at you. but yet they lean into it and want more. Let's continue.
Founding fathers. However, clearly they did not believe in multiracial equality. Clearly, if you look at the first...
And you agree with that?
Yes, I agree with that. I do not believe that everyone's equal.
So you don't believe in multiracial equality?
No. I mean, I don't think anyone does, actually. I mean, do you really think that all people are equal in talents and identity and worldview?
No, that's not what that means. No, when you say...
Doesn't want to go on to that subject.
All people are created equal. That means that the moment you are born, we're going to treat you in the same way as we treat everybody else. Now, what you...
Oh, he fell into that trap. Now, so what we realize is that what we said, we're going to treat you the same way. It didn't say you are. It said that no matter what, everybody's going to be treated the same way in America. We're not going to have dual standards or triple standards or whatever. Oh, he did this. Is he a Mexican? No, it doesn't go that way. He did this. This is your range. This is what happens.
Do with your life, what you do with your talents is different. There are many areas I'm quite sure I'm far more talented than you.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that you don't have talent, but what it means is that when you are born, we're going to be treated as equals. Equal American, equal American. So
he thinks he's got special talents that he doesn't have. I bet if we weighed them up on a sheet of paper, you would think that one of them was a more capable person than the other one, regardless of his oratory skills over here on the left, right? It's possible. Here, I just ask you a question. Basketball. If those two right there were to play basketball now I don't know if Richard Spencer played any at his school that he had over here, and he lived in Dallas when he was growing up, if he played any basketball or not, but I can just about guarantee who would win that. I think Spencer's a little over 6 foot. He's a little short, pudgy, can't dunk. Now, so who would do that even if you gave him that chance? If they were to try a running match, who do you think would go? If we were to try weightlifting, who do you think would go? If we took an IQ test, who do you think would go? If one of these two people was capable of being a spaceman on their own endeavor, which one would it be? Don't need to go any far with this, really, but the whole time here, by the way, he's got white supremacists thrown up all around him. Good night, white pride, all this stuff that goes on.
In your worldview, are you saying white folks should be treated as a greater American than if you're black or Latino or Asian or Native American?
At this point, I want white people to have the same rights that all other people do. The fact is, all institutions, in terms of legal rights, yeah.
He's fixing to interrupt him about 10 times, and he can't get this out. I'm going to say it, and we're going to let it go through it. His point right now is there are corporations, and we're well aware of this, and Silicon Valley is just one example he uses, where they've got this racial, they've got to put all these people in it and stuff. And it's not trying to be 12.6% black, and the amount of Asians in America versus the amount of Asians in Silicon Valley is not the same. And we're not going to turn around and start hiring people because of 12.6% and 64% and stuff like that. It's just the ideal that you would take white people that found it and make all this technology and turn around and say, well, a lot of these people that are real capable are going to have to find a job somewhere else while we get some of these other people that are not quite as capable, but we're going to teach them to do it because we have to. Hello?
Yes, everyone has the same thing. In terms of what institutions are actually doing, absolutely no. White people do not have the rights of minorities.
How so? In what?
I'll go into it. In terms of federal hiring, absolutely. Federal hiring is geared towards not...
Do whites have an NAACP, affirmative action? Are they the ones that are all on welfare and all the things like that? And oh, blame that on whitey. No, no. Get past that, people. Get past that.
Hiring more white men.
Hold on. Say it again.
Federal hiring.
Let me ask you a question. How many white men in the United States Senate?
That's not federal hiring.
No. Answer my question. How many white men in the United States Senate?
I don't know the exact number.
More than 80%.
Sure.
Okay. How many white staffers? See, you said hiring. That's hiring, correct?
Right.
How many white staffers in Congress?
A lot.
A lot.
How many thinks that America's Congress should be made up of Asians, people from India, Pakistanis, that Ethiopian witch, and a bunch of black people and not be a minority white people deciding what happens in white America. How many people believe that? How many of you that believe that are actually not one of those ethnicities? That might show you the ideals that are given there and who wants from whom. Let's continue.
Define a lot.
I don't know.
It's in excess of 80%. So please show me how.
Look at,
no. That's federal hiring. It's federal hiring. So you say no.
In a minute, he's going to go off into how people that do certain things are more apt to go certain ways. We're going to talk about Chinese and their aptitude towards math and electronics, and so they're at Silicon Valley. Blacks don't really have that, but they're forcing them into it and forced to hire some, and so on like that. So should we be forced into that position, or should you just go back and make your Wakanda thing so all that is not a burden on the world?
No, hold on. That's federal hiring. So
Just a
try to
thought.
understand something here. You said like all of a sudden, oh my God, it's so rough.
Arc with this.
So are you affirmative action is not at play in federal hiring?
Actually, hold on.
Every
Wait a minute.
department on down.
Actually,
Give me a break.
Actually, do you know what the greatest affirmative action policy was in this country?
Oh, watch him try to pull this. Greatest affirmative action policy in this country. So it's got to be propping up black people's IQ so they can make it through school whenever they don't qualify to do so. Let's continue. What's he say?
Slavery?
No, that wasn't affirmative action. That was free labor. The great affirmative action policy in America was the GI Bill. And do you know who benefited from the GI Bill?
White people.
Your grandfathers.
Yes.
You know who did not benefit from the GI Bill? The same black folks who fought alongside in World War II, who also bled for this country, and when they came back. So when you talk about affirmative action, that is the greatest affirmative action bill in the history of America. Do you know who's benefited greater from affirmative action policies? First of all, who created...
Hold on. We tried to make it to where now, believe it or not, there's a college entrance exam that you have to get in, your SATs that you get in, and blacks get a 250 point plus to their number. So you could be like, no man, you can't make it to college, we don't want you. All of a sudden you're boy, you got a high number. Somebody that might be able to get into a local college and not a good college all of a sudden can get into a good college, and if you're smart enough to get into one of those, you're able to get into Harvard now just because you're black. Does that have a racist tone to it at all? Well, we're trying to help prop you up, so we're making this extra happen, but it's not good enough for you. You have to be just handed more and more things, it seems. I'm just trying to be the devil's advocate here, people.
affirmative action?
White people, probably.
Okay, President Richard Nixon,
Right.
1969, Arthur Fletcher was there as well. Who was the greatest beneficiary of affirmative action?
The greatest beneficiary? I would
Affirmative
say
action.
African American.
You know, that's a lie.
Okay.
Do you have a girlfriend or wife?
Yes.
Is she white?
Yes.
She's the greatest beneficiary of affirmative action. White women have benefited more from affirmative action than anybody else in America.
Getting
That's a
very
fact.
sexist here, Martin.
No, it's not sexist. That's a fact. So the fact that, so when you say affirmative action, white...
So he can say something that's sexist and racist, and it's okay if he says facts. But if you say facts, like I've been talking in the background and things, I'm a neo-Nazi and he is too. You see? Let's continue.
Folks,
That
no,
might be the case.
No, it's not might. White women have benefited from affirmative action more than any other group.
I'll go
So
with you with that.
no. So when you're saying, oh my goodness, affirmative action, whites are not getting hired in the federal government, that's a lie.
Look, that's fine. Look, this is what I'm saying. In terms...
He basically said, I'll drop that. He goes, hell, I'll give that to you, and it still doesn't matter. Because he doesn't want to talk that point. Roland wants to talk that point and wants to say that white women benefit from affirmative action whenever they don't get the score benefit. It's kind of odd how he would try to whizzle that around. But I think, tell me in the comments if you think that that's reality, that affirmative action has helped out white people more and white women. And if you can validate why that is in a short way. I don't want you to write an essay. I don't want anybody to be forced to try to do it.
Let's look at Silicon Valley. Every spring, these big companies, Apple, Google, Facebook, will release diversity reports. And they will basically say, we are focused on not hiring white men.
Really?
Yes.
Hold on one
Look at
second.
all...
Yeah, really? And then you're going to try to act like, oh wow, I'm going to say a bunch of stuff. But that's the reality of it all, that they aren't able to hire who they want to. They're forced to have a diverse people hired. Wait a minute, really?
Well, the diversity.
Hold on, stay right there. Hold on 1 second. I'm gonna go to a break. See, here's the problem, Richard.
He gonna go to a break and try to talk over him on the way out, and then here's the problem with Richard.
This is the problem when you're a smart black man who can read.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen their diversity numbers?
Yes, whites
Really?
are underrepresented
Okay,
in
I
this
got
corporation.
you. All right, when we come.
Yeah, they're going to come back, and whites are underrepresented. It's like, well, if they're 64% of the population, why are there only 40% of them in Silicon Valley, and a lot of Asians, whenever they're a smaller minority, even than blacks? How does that work to everybody? Well, yeah. Is it capabilities? Is it wants and desires? Is it a lot of things?
Back, we're gonna do a fact check for Richard here when it comes to Silicon Valley, because see, as y'all know, here on TV1, Reverend Jesse Jackson Sr. has been talking about Silicon Valley. I've been right there covering this for the last 24 months. We're gonna give him the facts when we come back.
So he's all geared up on one topic, and he wants to try to make him look bad when it comes back, because he's been dealing with this topic for 24 months and well up on it, and he thinks he's got him. So they coming right back. Why did we get into space in the first place? It wasn't from people picking cotton.
Right here, News 19 TV1. All right, folks, back our guest, Richard Spencer, president of the National Policy Institute, since he identifies with the alt-right.
Why in his clips does he show Romans and stuff and all these great coliseums of Caucasian people? Why doesn't he show dung huts and people and some ritual thing done out in... Never mind.
Let's say he's a white nationalist. Richard, we talked about Silicon Valley. According to this report right here from the federal government, top 75 Silicon Valley tech firms. Whites, 47% of the workforce. Asian Americans, 41%. Hispanic, 6%. African Americans, 3%.
Are Asians 40% of the population in America? No, hold on. So let him continue. And whites are only just right there too.
Now, would you women make up? No. So what you're saying?
He proves his point.
Is we don't have enough white people in Silicon Valley?
No, what I'm saying is white people, those numbers you just read reveal that white people are underrepresented as a percentage in the population.
Because of affirmative action, they are actually underrepresented. Is that supposed to be part of how that happened? By representing another people, was that supposed to happen? Or do we got to keep to exact 12.6% without anybody freaking out? If they held 15, would they be happy then?
In Silicon Valley,
so are white people underrepresented when it comes to Fortune 500 CEOs?
No, not in terms of CEO.
No, you're going to pick a few things on ability for people to run businesses and have a business like mine that goes up. Black people, we're business. We were pimps way back when, and it's like, no, that's a recent thing too. The effective bartering in business and the way that concepts go on has been something the Caucasians have done incredible with, and there wasn't so much going on in pre-Stone Age Africa.
Okay, are white people underrepresented when it comes to a board of directors members of Fortune 500 CEOs?
Probably not.
Are white people underrepresented when it comes to corporate offices of Fortune 500 CEOs?
This is
probably not.
No, it's not. No, here's the deal.
You're moving the goalpost. And he says, no, I'm not. And tries to talk over him and say, no. You can't say your point. I've got mine. I've got them all listed on this green piece of paper here. Let me tell you what I got to say. I got to look at it real quick because I can't have it.
What you're saying is here, okay, in this sector, oh my God, we only have 47% of white people. So what do you want? You want 70, 80, 90?
No, what I'm saying is that these corporations, by their own explicit admission, are trying to hire less white people and less white men.
And more minorities due to affirmative action, making it be actually discriminative, just like the college entrance exams are, towards whites and even Asians. Yeah, they get that same penalty. In fact, theirs is a little worse during SATs because they do so well. So you got to hold down whitey and prop up blacks, or they can't even come close. And when we say come close, he's showing you that the numbers aren't close anyhow. but we should do more.
At least
So
reports.
are you saying they're not hiring people who are the smartest?
No, I don't think they're hiring people merely because they're the smartest.
So you're upset that
No, they're no longer hiring people on merit, and the people they think they could, they feel like they're forced to not hire it. In fact, I'm sure they turn and throw a file away of white people that have tried to get in that job because we've got to get more blacks and Mexicans in here somehow. Find me one.
you're upset. No, I'm trying to understand. You're upset that 47% of white people work in Silicon Valley, but you have no problem with 90% of the Fortune 500 CEOs being white.
I see what you're saying.
No, I'm asking yes or no. Are you? Do you like that? Do you like and accept that?
So he was going to try to answer him, and then his ability to answer was hampered by, no, I'm going to talk point again. I'm going to talk point again. I'm going to try to 1, 2, 3. Now, is that worth anything?
90%, 80+% of Fortune 500 CEOs are white men.
Look,
are you cool with that?
Yeah.
Do you prefer that?
Sure.
So what you're saying is what you want is you want whites being majority in control of every sector in America.
What I want.
Well, they were up until recently. In fact, still are. And what we're worried about is we're basically shooting America in its foot. And while there are other countries like the Soviet Union and even the UK that have all these problems that we don't have, we don't want to force problems on ourselves by trying to be overly compassionate to the point of shooting ourselves in the foot. It's a common sense move. While people whine about how much they're given, we actually do have the ability to evaluate how much we're giving, don't we? Oh, no, you don't. Yes, we do. Breathe in and out.
Look, I'm not an economic thinker. In terms of politics, what I want are politicians similar to Donald Trump who really want to protect the people here, who don't think just in terms of global.
And really, the concept he's trying to say there, I believe, is that he likes that Trump's trying to stop all this immigration of people that actually hate us and stuff off of it. And I think people have realized the problem. And when the Dems said that, oh, there's no problem in trying to get hundreds of thousands of more and everything, and it's like, why would you be doing this? Well, they know that minorities will vote Democratic, and they want so badly. You can see the witch hunt that's been going on for the last 4 years, and all of Donald Trump's first part of his presidency has been hampered, and yet he still did amazing things. Our economy was booming better than it ever had, and unemployment was at its lowest ever before this coronavirus, and it's not his fault. Let me say that just one more time. It's not Donald Trump's fault that a virus broke out, and what he did was over and above when he started to do it, and everybody acted like he didn't. And it's funny, it's two-faced by the media themselves, just trying to spin bad any way they can. They sit in his conferences every day and then try to bait him with questions that really aren't part of the conversation. But I don't want to make videos on it, but believe me, I could sit and do it all day long.
Population.
Who's the people?
Who are the people?
Right.
This is whites are still a majority in this country.
No. But you said the people. So he's black, she's black, he's white, I'm black, Latino. Are we in the people?
Yes, clearly you are citizens of this country.
Okay, so if we're in the people, then why can't we also have jobs?
I care about the country itself.
You can have jobs too. You just have to earn it. You wouldn't be just like given it and then jobs taken away from other people to give you jobs. I mean, that starts to be preferential, and then that's racist.
But I really care about European Americans.
Okay, but
all of these institutions, institutions are.
It is natural for you to like your ethnicity. It is natural for you to like your race. He likes his race a lot, and you can tell. He likes his race a lot, and you can tell. One of these founded America. The other one were their recent primitive slaves. America is now still top of the world, super spacemen. It's not because of these people. This suit that he's wearing is not a Negroid concoction. The equipment he's using, the language he's using, The food he eats, nothing about it has to do with him. They just constantly want to make it all always about them.
Dedicated to discriminating
How?
against people like me
Wait, hold on,
by their
hold on.
own admission they are.
If
Oh, we're fixing to go to We Was Egyptian. Watch out now.
if whites are dominating jobs in banking, if whites are dominating jobs on Wall Street, if whites are dominating hedge funds, if whites are dominating NFL,
If whites are able to capably do these things and develop some type of thing like that, that's supposed to be bad in their own country? If other people can't, then it's got to be the white man's fault and they should give us. What?
owners and NBA owners, if whites are dominating the major sectors, how in the world can you somehow say, oh my God, it's rough for us white people out here?
We're not talking about the 500 companies that are owned by a CEO. That's 500. There are millions of people that we're talking about. This is almost the same rationale as where 4 people stuck up their arms and he goes, it's a Nazi rally. And he go, no, those might have been, and they showed up. It's an open door. There's a black man standing over there. Never mind.
It's not. How, if you're saying that, how are whites dominating the number of jobs on Capitol Hill? How are whites dominating the number of jobs in the White House? How are whites dominating jobs all across America? And you're saying it's not enough white people, so stop hiring those minorities. They don't need.
He wants to point out the ones that white people are owning a bunch of, and then how could you say these numbers? And he's like, well, look at your Silicon Valley thing that you actually disgraced yourself by trying to show, and show that the numbers were skewed, and a lot of other reasons. And to undermine this, the whole time, college entrance exams and things, and even getting out of high school, are being falsified and boosted up in certain people and hampered in others to help make this happen. Is when can you find that to be rational?
Jobs, we got to make sure us white people keep getting jobs. Is that what you're saying?
It doesn't surprise me at all that whites succeed. We have succeeded throughout the centuries. We are a people of great genius and ambition. So none of that
should surprise you. And no, it shouldn't. For whites heralded civilization from North China and the Orient to India to all the people across the ancient Middle East, which used to be blue-eyed Caucasians too, as seen in the Sumerians and the blue-eyed Egyptians. No, not some latecomer and they were black before that, and we're fixing to get into that. But blue-eyed, blonde-haired people before. Look up blue-eyed Egyptians and you'll see a lot of these crystal blue-eyed statues, and if you click on it and look at it, they'll tell you it's 5th dynasty, 6th dynasty. Look up reserve heads. They only had them during a certain time, and those have not been idealized so much. A lot of them are scribes and things. The scribes are not done so much. Look up scribes, you'll see these crystal blue eyes. Look up Ginger, the pre-dynastic Gibelline mummy that was done before the mummification in anything, and he's blonde, curly-headed. So it doesn't go for there. And who's heralding civilization but wide out in the open for once in sub-Saharan Africa? And don't say they're doing it all on their own. They're being coached, taught up, given everything. And I'm not sure they appreciate it very much, but the blacks in America really don't appreciate that either. In fact, they deny that they were them, and they say we was Egyptians. Watch.
surprises me. In terms of looking at all of these CEOs, a lot of these are older people. They're from a generation they come from a generation with a very different population. What I'm more worried about right now are younger people. These institutions are actively, explicitly trying to discriminate against them in terms of hiring.
How?
It's unfair.
How?
I don't like it. But even worse,
How? Affirmative action. How? You've got to have a minority report. How? He's told you already, but still like, how? 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 I thought he did some reading.
this is moving towards a country that is not going to be the country that we want.
Well, no. We say the country that we want. I'm still trying to understand because you still haven't answered my question.
Because whites formed the country, founded it, made us be spacemen, and it's our direction. This is our country, so it's not necessarily how we want our country. And he's saying that, and everybody else is pointing out like, no, it's our country now. We came here to mooch off you, so now we're, hello? Breathe in and out about that one.
But Europeans build societies that everyone wants to come to be honest.
Okay,
where are the Syrian refugees?
Hold on, you said
when they're
built it.
invading, where are they going?
Who-
They're going to Central Europe. They're
You
going
said
to
built.
Western
You
Europe.
said built.
You're gonna try to interrupt him and then go built. Who built? We Cotton. So here he comes.
Yes.
Who built the railroads in America and allowed for us to have expansion out west? Who built?
There were some Chinese people involved and a hell of a lot of Irish, and the people that were the foremans and making it happen and making sure it was level and could keep from wrecking the train going under the track weren't the Chinese. The Chinese were the helpful assistants. Blacks should be glad that they weren't really that much into the railroad and used in that way in any shape or form. But there is an old story about John Henry and how he broke his back trying to outrun a machine they had created that took his job away from putting railroad spikes in. But he's going to turn around and beat. No, that doesn't exist anymore. John Henry tried to fight against it and see if he can do more than the machine. He don't give a damn. He wants to be given nowadays. John Henry didn't exist, though, by the way. George Washington Carver didn't invent peanut butter, and so many of the inventions they try to tout are basically nothing more than they tried to apply for a patent, which never came to use anyhow, but they tout it like we did something. We're fixing to get to the Egyptians. That's the reason I did this separate. There's so much crap before that point. I didn't think that it was the same interview, or they did it in parts. Let's continue.
Built that.
Yes, a lot of Chinese people.
No, you said the operative word there was built. Built. Who built? Okay.
Who designed them?
No.
Who had the genius
Wait,
to imagine
wait,
railroads?
wait,
Europeans.
We can't talk about that. And who imagined even a railroad, invented everything? All we got to say is who built. So if you laid down the track for the people that made it all happen, then all of a sudden you were the one that made it happen. And those people, they just stood around and stared. They did nothing. But we invented railroads. Is that it? No, that's not it.
Genius to imagine railroads. Okay.
Yeah.
But see, you said
Are there
built.
railroads in Africa?
Genius that matters railroad. Okay.
You said yes. You said built.
Why?
You said
Because of us.
hold on. You said okay. First of all,
That is absolutely true,
First
and you know
of
it.
all, the greatest genius when it came to the build.
Let's go back to this. And so now that he's pinned down, he's going to go was Egyptians. We're going to go to part 3.
Out west, who built that?
Yes, a lot of Chinese people.
You said the operative word there was built. Built.
We're back
Who
at that.
built?
Listen.
Okay.
Who designed them? Who had the genius to imagine railroads? Europeans.
The genius to imagine railroads. Okay.
Yeah.
But you said
Are there
built.
railroads in Africa?
You said yes. You said built.
Why?
You said
Because of us.
hold on. You said okay. First of all,
He said, why? Because of us. And then as soon as he said that, that angst hit inside of his head. And so he has nowhere to go. He has nowhere to go. And so where does he go? He goes with, those West African primitive pre-Stone Age people were the Caucasian Egyptians, blue-eyed Egyptians. He's going to claim that. We'll watch this, and then we'll go to the next video. It'll be in your top left-hand corner.
That is absolutely true.
First of all, the greatest genius when it came to the building of the pyramids, do you know what
Those are white people, by the way.
Who white people?
Who white people?
Egyptians are not African. I'm sorry.
Now he walks him into this, and he tries to pull the, if it's Africa, it's black people on him and everything else, and we're fixing to watch that. And he says he's trying to deal in facts, and I'm going to quit this and go to the next one. Your top left-hand corner, and this is the big debunk of his whole thing about, but of course all she involved herself in was the was Egyptians tint. Peace.